Hello, how are we doing tonight? So this evening we will be doing something a little bit different. Give me just a moment, I'll explain. So typically in my videos, there has always been a real life lore section. Hi, Emmy, and hi everybody in the chat. I saw you before stream started. But typically there's always been a real life lore section. This most recent one did not have that. Hi, is it okay to call you Mizzen? I saw your comment recently. I'm glad you found the channel. I hope you've been enjoying it so far. The most recent video did not have the real life lore, or like the real life mythology section, just because I kind of feel like it doesn't fit super well anymore. So this stream is going to be kind of just relaxing and talking a little bit about real life Celtic mythology and how the characters in the game measure up against like who they were inspired by. And we might play a little bit of Mabinogi in the background. I might also just kind of like scribble draw to explain some concepts. Hey, I'm glad to hear that, Mizzen. But yeah, give me just a few minutes to get set up and we will like get started in earnest. And if you guys have any questions throughout, whether it's like about Celtic mythology or if it's about like what's going on in the game, I'm happy to answer either category of question. It's been a really long time since I streamed on YouTube. It's a little bit different than I remember. Alright, let's hop over to Mabinogi real quick. And I also need to get you guys to where I can see you. I think last time was your girl transformation. It's been so long that I actually don't remember what you're referencing. Girl transformation. You just finished binging the lore series, so when you saw that I was streaming like right after you got super hyped, hey, that's awesome. I literally dressed up as a girl. Oh, are you talking about the lead up to the bait cafe? I like really desperately need to rebirth and work on Arcana some more, but I just look, I'm still where I was when I took the thumbnail. You know what? This is actually a great place. Was that my maid cafe look? I think it was. I think that would be the only reason that I would have been a girl. Because I remember I was planning on streaming the maid cafe, and then I never did. Which was maybe a good thing. So I have my script open because I did originally script the section in. You'll hunt down the screeny? Yeah, please do. Because I did originally have like the section in. And I just kind of decided last minute that it wasn't gonna make the cut. So I kind of want to just like pull up what I would have talked about and then kind of touch on what it was. And the very first thing is actually about Ela or Elotha. Always next time we're prepared, you know? Yeah, that's true. So I'm gonna... Let's replay a cutscene from like G10 or something, or like G9 or something, where Elotha shows up. This one works. View movie. Okay, so the really interesting thing about Elotha, right? In the original lore, or I guess the original mythology, Elotha is not in any way part of the Tuatha De Danann, which is like the gods. He is actually directly Fomorian. And he's like not even like a half-breed, because the Fomorians and the gods did crossbreed pretty often. He does show up in the mythology that most of the game is based around, but he kind of does so as just this like, he kind of just pulls up on people and is like, hey, you and me, we're having kids. That was kind of his role. And like in the actual Battle of Moitara, which is where like most of these characters shine, he's kind of just like the main villain's dad. He doesn't really have anything of his own going on. Like, he's also not anything like the game counterpart. Like, as we can see, our Elotha here is red-haired and has incubus horns and wings, and the actual Elotha is described as being like incredibly hot and also blonde, and extremely funny. Like, I was reading, when I was doing my research, it kind of sounded like the author really just wanted to have a nice time with Elotha. They were really talking him up. But yeah, it was really interesting. They kind of just took the character's name, and very little else about him ever came into focus, which is kind of why I decided that this section didn't need to make it into the video anymore. At like, by the time of G10 and going forward, at least until Divine Knights, like, the game gets so far from its source material that it kind of stopped being relevant. Which is a really weird position for me to be in, because that's been my gimmick this whole time. But, so, Elotha in the mythology is, he, showed up to, he basically, like, pulled up on a boat and was like, hey, you and me were having a kid. And his kid, Brace, or Bress, is the actual villain of the Battle of Moitara. He's like the evil king. Elotha is still a smash as a redhead horny boy. I mean, I'm not saying he's not, like... I've talked to enough people who are like Elotha stans to know that he has a fan base. He's just like not, like, mythologically accurate, if that makes sense. I do really appreciate Elotha as like the edge engine that he is. Like, every moment that Elotha is on screen, he's dedicated to being as melodramatic as possible. You do kind of wish the game would stick to the Celtic lore some more. I think they kind of did a good job on bouncing off of it. Because, so if they had stuck to the lore here, so the thing with that is, if they had stuck to it, it kind of ends really fast. Technically, the game would be over, because the second of battle, Edge Engine, he is, like, every moment he's on screen, he is either, like, monologuing about how, like, death and destiny and all that stuff is, like, a blessing to humankind, or he's, like, talking about how he's like lost himself to the darkness, or he's always on like some kind of like edgy tangent that just kind of happens to also fall in line with whatever we need to ask him at the time. Half the time it doesn't even feel like he's talking to you. He's just kind of like thinking out loud to himself and being kind of emo, and he also just answers your question in the meantime. Crawling in my skin. Yes, exactly. But shit, where was I? Oh, so at the point of where the game lore starts, the mythology is kind of over, if that makes sense. So, the Battle of Moitara is mentioned, like, in the distant past of Mabinogi. There was one that was between the Partholons and the Fomors, and then there was a second one between the Fomors and the Tuatha De Danann, which in Mabinogi's setting are just regular human beings and not divine of any kind. In real-world mythology, the first battle was between the Firbolg and the Tuatha De Danann, and I actually have I have a little bit of a pet theory about where the Firbolg are in the Mabinogi setting, but maybe we'll touch on that if we have time. But the second battle... Okay, so the first battle was between the Firbolg and the Tuatha De, and then the second was between the Fomor and the Tuatha De. And at the end of the second battle, like, the end of the world is prophesized. And that's kind of like the end of the... Like, it would... If they hadn't bounced off of it and ran with it, it would have just been over. They wouldn't have had anything to do. I do think they could be a little more faithful in some places, but I think it's fine. It's also it's a dead religion. So it's not like they're going to offend anybody, except for me specifically, I guess. You want to hear about the Firbolg? Sure, yeah, we'll touch on that. I'll make a little bit of time once we get through the other points. So let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, the actual prophecy. So in the most recent video, Crimson was kind enough to lend me her voice. Oh, the Master of Hoeing thing. Thank you for sending me that. Yeah, that was the run up to the Maid Cafe Emmy. But Crimson was kind enough to lend her voice to read that that prophecy. It actually is a direct mirror of the prophecy at the end of the Battle of Moitara. It's not exact, like, one-to-one, but they are very similar. The actual, like, prophecy is, I shall not see a world which will be dear to me. Summer without blossoms, cattle will be without milk, women without modesty, men without valor, conquests without a king, woods without mast, sea without produce, false judgments of old men, false precedents of lawyers, every man a betrayer, every son a reaver. The son will go to the bed of his father, the father will go to the bed of his son, each his brother's brother-in-law. He will not seek any woman outside of his house. In evil time, son will deceive father, daughter will deceive, and then it trails off. I assume there's more, but that's the only, like, that's the, like, the breadth of the prophecy that I could find. It's really focused on incest, which is a little bit weird, but, like, it kind of amused me that they were, like, so... The game's prophecy did kind of actually track with the prophecy at the end. Sounds like America. No comment. So let's see. There is more, but I kind of just have, like, a bullet point. So we'll talk about the Firbolg real quick. Let me... Traveler's Guide. Where is it at again? Or no, it's Carpentry? Wow, it's been a while since I played this. Or, like, since I've actually, like, used the Traveler's Guide, I guess. I will admit, I've kind of just burnt out on Mobby recently. I kind of just been getting on to, like, hit my levels for my Arcana and then logging out. Logging camp, that's what it was. So if you go to logging camp and you head over this way, like you're headed to the like the player town, there are all these huts here, and there is also that that archaeological site in outside of Bangor. I am pretty sure that at some point, Sweet Home Alabama. Yes, exactly. I'm pretty sure that these were intended originally to potentially be like the residents of the Firbolg, like lost the time. Because if you come over here, oh, okay, this is not the sign that I thought it was. There is a sign over here, right? I'm not nuts. There's like a sign over here that talks about like where these houses came from. That one's talking about the open beta. Maybe it's NPC dialogue. I don't remember exactly what it is, but I have. It's always been my sneaking suspicion that these were supposed to be like the lost residents of the Firbolg, because the only thing I remember about the sign that I apparently imagined existing was that it talked about how like this area was like once inhabited by. You know for sure there's a sign you swear you've seen it? Yeah, I swear I swear I have as well. I don't know where it went. Maybe it's on the wiki. It amazes me how you folks remember NPC dialogue. I have half remembered NPC dialogue that will haunt me in my dreams. Also, hi Zonk. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, so the Firbolg were kind of... I actually haven't read into them so much because they haven't really come up. But the interesting thing about Celtic mythology is that it... What the heck? Oh, somebody just followed on Twitch, I think. Sorry, that caught me off guard. You think you've seen the sign and it just gives like a wee shot of video here? Yeah, that's the sign that's right over here. It's talking about the pre-beta video. But the interesting thing about like Celtic mythology is that partially because of the Christianization of Ireland and just generally like the Isles, right? There has been kind of a shift to where the gods of pre-Christian Ireland are remembered as like hero kings. And a lot of the times it's kind of obscure. Like, they are divine, but they marry, they fight, they die, they cheat on their spouses. Like, it's very like, it's very human in a way that's like very similar to Greek mythology, but it's maybe even more so. Because they have their own cities, they have their, like, they basically were just the people of Ireland before humans got there, within the context of the lore. And so the Firbolg were basically the same way. There were like 2 or 3 cycles of people coming to the island. and it didn't end very well for any of the people who were there at the first time. The Firbolg basically got wiped out, from what I understand, and the Tuatha Dé would eventually become... So it's interesting because in Irish mythology, hills are supernatural. They are basically like pockets to the fairy world, or the other world, and that's where the gods fled to when the humans moved in, and that gets really complicated to talk about because it involves a lot of characters who do not exist yet as of Gen 10, though they do now. Let's see. But yeah, that's my crackpot Firbolg theory. That was based on a sign that apparently does not actually exist. Maybe you can talk to somebody about it. Maybe that's what it is. I know I've said that already, but... Alright, so the next person that kind of comes up in the myth, or like in the game that I wanted to talk about was Tethra. Tethra is... You're coming to look, chill. Tethra is interesting because he is kind of actually really important in the mythology, but in the game, he's just like a blink and you miss it, doesn't matter character. He's just like a commander, a general, maybe, in the Fomorian army, and doesn't really ever show up again once you kick his ass. But in the actual mythology, he goes on to rule Magmal for a while. He becomes basically the Fairy King, while also still being a Fomorian. So that's kind of a weird twist that I think I actually talked about this in the Gen 9 video a little bit. But yeah, Tethra briefly becomes like the king of the otherworld. It's really funny to me that we just kind of put him away as like a side character. Let's see. Naunum. We can talk about Naunum a little bit. Oh, and the Caliburn. We have to talk about the Caliburn, because the Caliburn is its whole little tangent that goes into like Arthurian myth. Like, I don't know if Arthurian is like mythology. It goes into the Arthurian canon. Magmal is very beautiful. It's one of my favorite places in the game. Also, hi Telly. Welcome to the stream. Let's see. Mada, that's who I was thinking of. Mada, I think, is also pretty important, but I can't remember right offhand. So Mada is the guy who shows up to make us joust in that one shadow mission. Arthurian legend. Yeah, Arthurian legend, Arthurian canon. I've heard it said both ways. Yeah, Mada was a king. That's what I was thinking. Mada was a king, and I don't think he was actually a Fomorian. They kind of just took his name. could ask Paxeco about lore or Pika1998. They both like remember everything. It's scary. Yeah, I probably could. I usually tend to like dive more into the like the real life like side of it because I find it really interesting. But Mata is actually Fergus's dad. in the mythology, because Fergus is actually also a relevant figure. Also Cairbre, the god of music or whatever, that when you like jam together and you get the blessing. So he's like actually a really important person. It's kind of wild that he also just shows up and gets yeeted off a horse and murdered. Oh my lord, Fergus. Yeah, you would think being like, you know, half god or whatever, he'd be a decent blacksmith, but he's both not half god and a horrible blacksmith. So the Caliburn. Oh, the Caliburn. Clipping through my shoulder. Uh the Caliburn is really kind of strange. Because so in Arthurian canon, the Caliburn is either the sword that Arthur has before he gets Excalibur, or it is just Excalibur, but before Arthurian myth got Frenchified. Uh, and the Caliburn, at least in the original tellings, or like the oldest works that we have on record, is not like any kind of magical, it's just like a pretty good sword, which quickly becomes not the case. Uh, like, so in the myth... Oh, I just wandered into a raid. That's gonna be not great. So in the myth, the Excalibur is a sword that is, I think, magical on its own, but its scabbard is the like the actual important part because it protects the owner of the sword from like any grievous bodily wound. This actually kind of becomes more of like a Divine's Knight thing, like a Divine Knights thing, because the Divine Knights are like a very, very, very thinly veiled riff on the Knights of the Round Table. Like, I'm pretty sure even in Altum, his name in Korean is actually Altur, placing him closer to Arthur. And for some reason, when it got localized, he lost the R and the U and became Altum. So the Caliburn is in game. It's like the essence of darkness. It's not anything as like grand or exciting in the legends. I do think it's really interesting that we never get Excalibur outside of like, I think there's a crossover event item called Excalibur. We get the Brionic, which is like a spear, if I remember correctly, but it manifests as a technique in the game. Let's see, what else? Oh, Nounum. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, by the way. I'm kind of just giving a lecture, which is fine, but, you know, questions are welcome and appreciated. So, you want a corkboard with red strings and all with you explaining everything at the end of the lore series. You know, I've actually kind of jokingly considered that before. I have a pet theory that Uh, the major, like the three, Mabinogi and Vindictus are obviously tied together. But I think Maple's story, I think they exist within the same like extended universe, if that makes sense. I have like a whole like red tape theory going on. Uh, I've been slowly collecting evidence for that. uh, okay, let's see. Oh, Nounum. So Nounum is, or I guess the Bab. Uh, so Nounum and Maka and Morgan. Wow, I can't believe I just forgot Morgan's name. Getting your tinfoil hat on. I really am. So Naunum, Maka, and Morgan are like a trio goddess, which is, so in Mabinogi they're all sisters. Although Maka doesn't really ever show up. She kind of gets sidelined for the most part. In the original mythology, it's kind of questionable if they are actually separate entities at all, or if they're all different aspects of a single god. However, Naunum's like attribute is not light in the original mythology. Morgan is like a war goddess. She, like, her appearing to people is like an ill omen. That's why she is like equated with like ravens and stuff. Like, she will show up before battles to those who are fated to die and show them visions of her washing their blood-stained armor and stuff. And I think Maka is actually still like, I think Maka is actually still pretty close to her mythological inspiration. I think Maka actually was like basically a destruction goddess, like a goddess of ruin, pretty much. That's pretty metal. Yeah, Morgan, like, mythological Morgan's actually really interesting. It's a shame that that didn't work super well. I think Game Morgan's kind of boring. So, okay, so Maka is a goddess of war, specifically. Uh, she's a triple goddess in the Celtic mythology, like the Maiden, Mother, and Crone. Yes, she is a triple. She is a triple goddess. You are correct. I don't think the Maiden, Mother, Crone analogy fit. Like, I don't think they actually fit that thing there. But like the analogy you're drawing is correct. Uh, One second. I'm kind of looking up some. Yeah, like the three goddesses in one. You're correct. That's why they're portrayed as sisters in game, I'm pretty sure. But, doo, doo, doo. Maka also shows up as a name that's recycled. This is also a problem that comes around when I'm researching stuff. A lot of names get used like again and again and again in mythology. So like, I just pulled up the Wikipedia article for Maka so I could kind of like read over it real quick and be like, is there anything that I'm forgetting here? And like right away, it's like Maka, daughter of the Partholon, wife of Nemed, daughter of Ernmis, the red-haired. So there's like so many different ones, but they're all kind of understood to also be the same person. But the one in game is obviously based off of the red hair. It's interesting how so many religions have a trinity aspect to their gods. Yeah, that's an Indo-European thing. Uh, I mean, I think it shows up in other cultures too, but like from what I understand, it's very common in like basically anywhere that was touched uh, by like Indo-European cultures, because like most things, religions tend to descend from each other, uh, which is why like there are like strong parallels between like uh that's why there are so many parallels between like Arthurian legend and like Beowulf and like the Epic of Gilgamesh and stuff like that. It's because like they all are kind of working from the same DNA. Uh and it's why you see like so many of the same themes being repeated across different religions. It's because they all kind of are like offshoots of an older religion. Because like most things that human beings do, it evolves over time. So yeah, the Bab, as they're called, that's like the name of the trio, uh, is kind of more interesting for sure. Uh, I actually don't. I probably should have looked more into like Downham. Uh, I looked up the three back in like Generation 1 or 2 because of course Morgan was really relevant, but I haven't really retained it super well over time. Okay, so yeah, Naunum is actually maybe like the darkest part of the trio, which is interesting how they made her like the goddess of light. Because she is kind of like how Athena in Greek mythology is like the well thought out, like tactical war goddess, and Ares is like brutal force, like the brutal force war god. That is Naunum. Naunum is basically Ares. Uh, she would like show okay, so I have the Wikipedia page open and it's talking about how like in mythology she would like show up and confuse entire armies so that they would like start slaughtering their own people. Uh, she was kind of like Morgan. She was not a goddess. Like she was not benevolent. She kind of just was an ill omen. Uh, as most war gods tend to be in cultures that are not like like heavily militaristic. I think Athena's kind of like an outlier there because she also had that aspect of like uh the aspect of the mother and also the aspect of like the inventor, which kind of sets her apart from most other war gods. And that is not the case with Naunum or Morgan. So they are very much like not exactly benevolent creatures, which I think is really interesting. Uh, yeah, it's kind of that's kind of my whole spiel. There wasn't that much going on in Generation 10. Uh, let's see. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer. They don't have to be about Generation 10, by the way. I'm happy to answer later, like later or earlier. Uh, just kind of focusing on Generation 10 because this is the video, or this is directly following that video. Um, Trying to think of things that like I can talk about that will not. I guess it doesn't matter if I talk about things that we haven't like reached yet in the lore series. You know what? I want to talk about Manuan. So let's go to his house. He doesn't want to see us, but I don't care. Been a little while since I've been on G10, so how do I get there again? Geez, so many bags. I don't think I have that many. That's fairly standard, right? Is it actually possible to still get to his... Oh yeah, you go up here. Right? No? Am I dumb, blind, or both? That's where you can get in there. Let me see the Ocean Daddy. Maybe I have to interact with one of the crystal things. Okay, that's been activated or whatever. Is it you? You look important. Move to the High Temple. There we go. Is he actually here? No, he's not. It's okay. It's a pretty spot to sit. So Minanuan is, he is originally, he really doesn't want to see me. Yeah, he's not really a fan. He is interesting because he shows up a lot in the game in like really understated ways. Like the Wave Sweeper is very obviously referencing the Scuubtina, which was in mythology his boat. And if you look at it, I think I have one in my inventory. Yeah, if you look at it, it has a boat on it. The Scuubtina was like his magical self-steering boat that maybe also had a personality. And he is really important overall because he is initially like kind of a minor sea god, but he is all he. So once Lu is dead, Minanuan becomes the king of the gods. He becomes the single most powerful of them, and he's also the only one left after the arrival of humanity on the island. And he's Also, he also is kind of like in game, how he's the Fairy King, or how it's mentioned that he's the Fairy King, since the absence of the Fairy Queen. He is also the king of Magmel at like various points in time. So he is actually like super significant. I kind of feel like he's going to keep showing up in future generations, assuming we keep getting future generations. Uh, and I'm pretty excited to see what they do with them. Obviously, Mabinogi has like the original religion thing going on of like Limelark, Heimerarch, Jamderarch, and Aton Semeni. So his importance is probably toned down quite a bit. Uh, but he is still like one of my favorite characters. Um, he's just kind of too good for us, and he's very content with letting us know that fact. Uh, yeah, I'm kind of running out of things to talk about that aren't like Apocalypse era. Apocalypse does like such a good job because it manages to really somehow like sew together the like every generation plot line. Well, not every generation, every chapter manages to sew together every chapter in a way that feels kind of organic and planned, even though I'm pretty sure like nobody in their right mind ever thought Shakespeare through or like ever planned for it during the writing stages when they were like planning out the game's roadmap, so to speak. Or maybe they did. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that seems like maybe a general oversight. No particular shade to Shakespeare, but you know, it def was not planned. Yeah, it's it's kind of a low point in my opinion. I think it's a little bit. I kind of. This might be an unpopular opinion. I kind of look at Shakespeare and Saga as like the dark era of Mabinogi, where it was kind of really poorly written. I hate Saga. I'm not looking forward. I still have not, to this day, I have not completed Saga 2. I'll just admit that. I guess that probably should like throws my like lore master credentials into question, but I can't bring myself to play through it. I hate it. I hate every character in it. I hate trying to play through it. I hate how gimmicky it is. It's awful. It's possibly the worst generation in the entire game. I guess we'll run a little bit of content because I'm kind of, a little bit bored. You like some of the Milesian lore stuff in Shakespeare? Yeah, so Shakespeare is interesting in that it gives us like a little bit of additional context on like Milesians, I guess. It's really it's really dumb that the real life Shakespeare was the very first Milesian ever. I have deep questions about who thought that was clever. I mean, I guess it works as like explaining why the Shakespeare generations happen. But that's like that's exactly what it is though. It's like thinly veiled plot convenience. I think Lou is interesting. And Lou is mostly played out through Shakespeare. I mean, he shows up sort of in generations 1 through 3 and sort of in 10. Spoilers that the Dark Lord Morgaunt is Lou, in case you didn't know that. So I guess that's like a bright spot in Shakespeare. Yeah, in my opinion, the drop in quality between like 12 and 13, or not really 12 and 13. Actually, I really like I really like Avon is really interesting in the Partholonians, but it is still kind of odd. Yeah, the Partholonians already showed up though. I feel like the Partholonians would have actually been more interesting without the Shakespeare aspect, because like in game they are shadow mission enemies and those people who have the globe from IRL in their city that is like magically out of time and like time and space, so you can play theater missions there. Uh yeah, I don't know. I feel like, man, this conversation is actually making me like Shakespeare, like the Shakespeare generations less. Because now I'm like, how much missed potential was there with, like, if Shakespeare hadn't been a thing, would the Partholonians have been more fleshed out and more interesting? I guess the upside is that, like, we get a we get this companion. She's a Partholonian, technically. Laylene. Yeah, it could have been done better. Uh my hot take is that the fall in quality between Shakespeare and uh Saga is like precipitous. It's not like, oh, this is kind of like the game was like pretty bad and then it got worse. It's like the game was middling at the, like, Shakespeare was pretty middling as far as chapters go, and then Saga was, I can't think of anything nice to say about Saga. I guess it's short. That's the nice. Saga is mercifully kind of short. It doesn't feel like it, because the first time you play through, you can't skip the cutscenes, but if you're willing to get up and go for like a coffee break or something. Chama Mama? Yeah. I guess Saga did technically introduce Shamala. The real question is, would we have gotten her anyway? Because if so, then it's not worth it. I'll hit 150 real fast, and we'll probably end stream. How long did I manage to talk about this for? Ah, about an hour. I did waffle a lot, but I was kind of expecting to only have like 30 minutes of talking, to be honest, if that. Oh wow, they actually lived through that. You might have even been horny for someone who wasn't Rory. That would have made my life a lot better. Kamala like reads more angry than horny to me though, for the most part. Older Rory's kind of fine though. Yeah. His design is nice. It doesn't change the fact that he's like himself, you know? And Tarlak gets exactly what he deserves. I feel like Tarlak's a victim of bad writing. To be fair, Rory is too. But Tarlak was like at least a tolerable character before he got absolutely destroyed by Saga. It's been a really long time since it came up on the channel, but I feel the need to like reiterate my absolute disgust and distaste for Gen 2, Gen 3 Rory. Revolutionary Roulette coupon? Is this like an event or something? A horrible personality making Milady Crystal cry. That's fair, I guess. At least he doesn't eat glue. Gen 2 and Gen 3 Rory is, like, actually brain dead. The worst thing you can say about Tarlak is that he's, like, kind of a jerk and also has some commitment issues. He's dumb, but he's pretty. He's not even pretty in Gen 2 and Gen 3. He looks... He actually... I think he's ugly in Gen 2 and Gen 3. Like, he's not... I don't like the way he's drawn. Wow, I'm playing extremely poorly. That body pillow. That's an old reference. Oh yeah, I should probably have like a shadow crystal or something. That'd be beneficial. Do I have... Oh yeah, there's one. It's a shitty one, but it'll work. I feel like I'm lagging really badly. I'm not, but I feel like I am. I'm not bad at Mabinogi, I swear. feeling my shadow crystal's in here somewhere. Oh yeah, I could probably just like search for it. This update was the best thing that ever happened to this game. You should have left all your junk in the VIP. Yeah, why didn't you do that? I leave... So, the way that I treat my, like, expiring inventory is I leave everything in VIP if I don't think I'll need it. Or, like, until I need it. And then, for, like, the master plan inventory... Why are you walking? I'm not pressing any buttons. For the master plan inventory, I will, like, put enchant scrolls and stuff in there that I know I will not need for a while. Yeah, no, you're just wasting space. How dare you? Welcome back, memers. Yes, hit me with your hammer while I'm standing inside of you. It does appease your OCD, so you're not sorry. That's fair, I suppose. I should probably pick these up. I feel like they're important. What's a quote? I think I'm gonna finally get a Sega monitor. I think it's at the point... Something about having a hammer inside of me. Oh, I said, yeah, hit me with your hammer while I'm standing inside of you. Because Big Chungus over here was, like, smacking me while I was standing, like, inside of him. By hitting my dog. Because Mabinogi has, like, horrendous hitboxes and splash damage. You like your version better? Your version is lies and slander. How dare you? Yeah, I'm just tired of streaming on one monitor. It's really, like, claustrophobic sometimes. You missed a portion of the stream because you were helping your bro dye his hair. What did you miss? We just talked a little bit more, and I'm just doing a little bit of content. I'm gonna hit, like, I don't know, probably level 60 and call it good for the night. Oh, hey, look at that. Lots of God talk. Yeah. You can, I mean, it's YouTube, so you can always, like, wind back and watch. It's a nice thing about it. Hey, no worries, Mism. But yeah, I think that's, I think we've, achieved our goal with this particular stream. If you guys have any questions before I, like, start wrapping up, I'm more than happy to answer. Otherwise, I think that might be it for the evening. Although I am really curious about what this, spin to win. Ah, okay. Oh, I was price checking the other day because I was like, you need a photo of my VTuber's face? Sure. What for? I was price checking the other day because during the last beauty gotcha, I got the choppy long hair, right? And it was kind of expensive when I got it. I think I bought it for like 50 mil, and then I pulled one. And I gave it away on stream. I was price checking to see how much I should regret that. $150 mil. Should use the one on the second channel and subscribe while you're there. Yeah, consider going out to over to the second channel, checking it out. I'm working on another upload for it that should be ready sometime this week. Question mark, smiley face, not making promises. It's just a highlight channel, but still. Stream highlights. Yes, thank you. All right, so yeah, I guess that's gonna be stream for the evening. Thank you guys for coming out. In case you don't know, I usually stream over on Twitch. That is twitch.tv/internet effigy. No space or anything. Consider dropping by if you are like a YouTube regular and have been wanting a little bit more content, because I stream over there usually 3 to 4 nights a week. Anyway, have a good night, and I will catch you guys in either the next stream or the next video. Take care.